this vid. It's the first vid for a very, very long time. I'll tell you why. Although if I put the title up, you'd have guessed why. So yes, the great MOT Disaster 2022. So what happened was, when I made my last video, the exhaust was blowing something terrible, and I had two days literally between that happening and the MOT due date, and I was kind of desperate to get it through. So I didn't make any videos or take any photos, but what I did was I took the exhaust off, and I got a mixture of various putty and various exhaust bandage, and taped it up, covered up the hole. That didn't work, so I took it to a garage, local garage, and he tried to weld it up. It looked like it worked until I put it back on, and then it was blowing. So it mostly worked, but not quite. So then I put some more bandage and gunk all over the holes that was left by the welding, and then I put the exhaust back on. As I was putting the exhaust back on, I managed to snap one of the studs holding the exhaust on, which freaked me right out. But I still took it for the MOT, and it passed. So it passed with an advisory that the exhaust is very slightly blowing. So now I need to get a new exhaust, and I also need to sort out the blowing, the stud that is broken. And I really, basically, this knocked me for six. Completely knocked me. I kind of, one of the reasons I bought this was a lot of fun to ride. It's good for commuting backwards and forwards when I felt like it to work. But also because I wanted to sort of stretch myself with my mechanical knowledge a little bit. Do stuff I've not done. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't take my car apart, because I rely on the car when I do rely on it, and I didn't want it to be in bits on my driveway. So the bike was a good way of learning how to do mechanical stuff, except it seems that every time I take anything to pieces, I'm not very good. It breaks. I break things. Things fall apart. Things don't work properly afterwards. I find it very depressing. I'm not a person who suffers particularly from mental health problems or depression or anxiety, but very occasionally I do. I think most people do, on and off, even if they don't realise what it is. But anyway, not for me. Knocked me for six. Completely knocked me for six, and it actually put me off doing things to the bike. It got through the MOT, so I can still ride it, but I do need now to either source a replacement stock exhaust, or I could go for something aftermarket. But then if I go for an aftermarket exhaust, by all accounts, go by online videos and stuff, then I'm going to have to take the bike apart and get the carb out, reject the carb so that it suits the exhaust pipe. And after the disaster so far, I'm thinking that's probably not a good idea for me to do. But at the same time, I really like the aftermarket exhaust, and I would rather have an aftermarket exhaust than putting on another stock one. Which, I mean, a stock one's not going to be easy to source anyway, because this is a carb model, unless I go like to the USA or wherever. So sometimes I think maybe an EFI one would have been better. Not that I had a choice. The only ones that were available when I wanted to buy it were Japanese imports carbs. They do occasionally turn up, the EFI ones, but this bike is filthy. I don't know if you can see that. Another part of not being much loved. So it's going okay, but it is blowing. You can hear it's very slightly blowing. And if I put it on full throttle, you can hear it's not backfiring, but there's a very slight pop noise. So I'm worried that might damage it in some way. last thing I want is to damage it anymore, obviously. So now, I mean, it's not a complete disaster, presumably a good mechanic can get the stud out, and I can go from there. But I find that, you know, I just find it so depressing that I've done that. It's not the first time I've had a problem with one of the studs on the exhaust. In fact, when I first got it, I couldn't undo one because it was so rusty. That was when I was trying to take the back wheel off and it had a puncture. So all in all, I do still love my Zoomer, but at the same time, it has put me off, it's depressed me, and now I've got to move on. I haven't used it much over the summer because I bought myself an electric bicycle, because when I'm not riding bikes, I absolutely love riding motorbikes. When I'm not riding scooters, motorbikes, I actually do a lot of cycling. I go mountain biking, I do lots of stuff. I go climbing, I go running, I do a lot of running, and I go mountain biking. And I bought myself, it's not an electric mountain bike, it's an electric bike with fat tyres. It's very similar to a mate bike, if you know what a mate bike is. It's by a company called Fido M21. And so I've been riding that backwards and forwards to work. Cycling is a joy anyway, but cycling with an electric motor is just fantastic. I rode with my wife yesterday, and we went to Almondsbury and back from Bristol, and there's a very, very big hill at Almondsbury when you come back into Bristol, and she was pedaling and I was hardly doing anything, no effort required, zoomed up the hill. So the electric bike has been getting a lot more rides than the scooter, hence the lack of videos. I've literally hardly used it. So that's it, that's the great MOT Disaster 2022. I would say thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you liked the vid. Let me know any thoughts if you've got any ideas about how to get extract the stud from the engine block. If you can give me encouragement, if you've done it and it's easy, you can give me some encouragement, that would be fabulous. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next vid.